Many thanks to the organizer for this event of relevance to challenging topics they propose. I submitted a paper entitled Critical Thinking on Words, Digital Cultural Heritage, Revamping Conceptualization in order to plan global and local public policies that commit to quality e-culture for all. In the paper, you can find a complete abstract, and I summarize it aims to the proposal present a critical analysis of words digital cultural heritage in terms of which conceptual and practical aspect inherent to the digital and internet nature of cultural permeate the heritage and are excluded or have not direct chance of being considered for listing by UNESCO. Therefore, not only is conceptualization central to planning laws, but it is also necessary to rethink concepts that allow a step forward in the words digital cultural heritage approach to stimulate debate, as well as to express and represent the interconnectedness of cultural citizens in order to promote and safeguard a quality global and local e-culture for all. Focusing the concept of critical thinking and in the understanding of cognitive and metacognitive skills, the creativity and critical thinking are needed to find solutions to complex problems. Also, critical thinking includes inductive and deductive reasoning, making correct analyses, inferences, and evaluations. This proposal aims to approach the subject from this perspective to analyze the situational state, key concept, and propositional aspect. Okay, what legitimates UNESCO as heritage and as digital heritage? We find the World Heritage List. On the other hand, we giving framework to this, the Declaration of Principles for promoting international solidarity and cooperation for the preservation of world heritage. And in the declaration, we don't find any reference to digital or related to this. The closest will be respect for cultural diversity. However, on the World Heritage website, there is a section called Digital Heritage with a list and other resources, but it's a space that digitally reproduces the list of sites already declared heritage. There is a very interesting sector called space technologies, where is a digital Earth platform. It's a global spatial information service system. This type of platform can offer great possibility for linking with the expansion of the world digital heritage. But from the critical thinking point of view, it is important to take into account a broader view that is not only the digital reproduction of physical site recognized by UNESCO. We can ask ourselves how we define heritage. Regarding UNESCO lines, a heritage is something that is or should be passed from generation to generation because it's valued. But what we mean by heritage today? Okay. Another question is, what two broad type of heritage UNESCO can we connect with digital sectors and culture or e-culture? Well, we can find two great lines, Digital Heritage Charter and the second, Intouchable Cultural Heritage. In the first one, Digital Heritage Charter, the postulates found in the Digital Heritage Charter are very interesting, and their postulates include aspects that we will show later that there are notable absences. Since up to now, the digital heritage world, as mentioned before and in the following slides, The second one, regarding intangible cultural heritage, in the understanding that cultural heritage is not limited to monuments or collection of objects, but also includes tradition or living expression inherited from our ancestor and passed on to our descendants, such as oral traditions, performing arts, social practices, rituals, festive events, knowledge and practice relating to nature and the universe, and knowledge and skills linked to traditional craftsmanship. We don't find examples or cases relating to the digital world when we will see examples or cases from the digital world that contain all the characteristics of cultural heritage, but simply happen on the internet. For this reason, it is necessary to share the main characteristic of the digital and internet nature in 3 aspects that you can check in the slide. What is digital nature regarding the electronic universe and the binary of zeros and one? What are the characteristics of the internet, technological and human level, regarding information packet switching, the openness, interoperable and global, the current problems about fragmentation and infrastructure coverage, or the value that United Nations declared internet as human right. And last but not least, what is e-culture? We have the 2 main authors regarding this field. For instance, Alfredo Ronchi mentioned that e-culture in terms of preservation of cultural heritage, or Ludmila Baeva focusing the interdisciplinary studies of creators about e-culture. But we can ask ourselves, what about potential heritages that exist only on the internet? Well, I would like to share the case studies to think about absences, potentials, and opportunity for global and local cultural enhancement. In the first case, I would like to share with all of you the ISEA archives linked to the legendary and world-leading event of digital creation, well known in the acronym ISEA, International Symposium on Electronic Art. And I would like to point out specifically the Connected Archives project that gathers several archives related to digital creation, such as ADA archives, SIGGRAPH archives, CAS archives, among others. Some of the characteristics of these archives are that, for instance, more than 5 million artists are reviewed into the other archives, for instance, or the impressive world map of media artists in SIGGRAPH. More than 30 years of media artist creation contain this Connected Archives project. And I would like to mention that in the 3rd summit carried out in May on Paris in this year, there is an accepted proposal that involves applying to UNESCO for the Connected Archive project as a World Digital Cultural Heritage of the Humanity. You can check the article in the proceeding of the summit ISEA archives in the page 64. Because these impressive archives, ISEA and Connected Archives project, are not recognized yet by UNESCO as World Digital Cultural Heritage of Humanity, at least not for now. The absences in this case study, I think that is very interesting to point out that the emphasis is on the object or digital artifact, in addition to other emphasis, such as the network of those involved in making possible the study of such creators, and in the artistic experiences, also in the legitimation of such work in the concomitant roles. The second case study is regarding MURE, is the acronym of museography networking. I'm going to cite it as a case, not because I consider that it should be on the list of World Heritage of Humanity, but because I am going to focus on the characteristic of networked experience, with contain great syntonies with the characteristic of intangible heritage of humanity and with digital heritage. Okay, what is MURE? It is an exhibition circuit on the internet with narratives around heritage objects, generating dialogues and interconnections in real time through internet. The museums, cultural centers, institutions, and people that participate do not exist or coexist geographically, but they do inhabit the same virtual space and time. MURE builds stories, narratives between objects and people locally and globally. You can see in the right a map of connectivity and geographically map of the parties involved. You have the website to explore more deeply. And in the critical point of view, we can ask regarding what are the characteristics of humanity's digital cultural world heritage, to reflect, okay, what will happen if this type of experience is perpetuated over time, becoming cultural tradition on the network, similar how groups of people get together to celebrate a tradition that is intangible cultural heritage of humanity, but in this case, they happen exclusively on the internet. If the internet is a human right, therefore the cultural manifestation developed there should be considered as possible heritage in the same way that the other intangible cultural production are considered as heritage of humanity. So the emphasis we rescue is on the networked experience directly related between the characteristics of intangible heritage and digital heritage. The third case, I would like to share and present with all of you the networking performing art production between Europe and United States and its global network. The founders were Shant and Internet 2. That is so to say, concert, performances, etc., exquisite proposal of artistic creation where the emphasis on the network as a vehicle for professional artistic creation combined with specialized tools that challenge network latency. This group of artistic collaboration in network have been active for more than 20 years. With the level of production quality, there are no other networks that had this trajectory and continuous production. They are a source of resources, human and technologically, that, like ESA Archives on Connected Archives project, should be considered as World Digital Cultural Heritage of Humanity. The fourth case is about a pioneering event that took place in 2012 in the framework of the London Olympics and the Cultural Olympiads. We award event young artists, 1 mile artists, 10 days in Nottingham, UK. Personally, I was a partner from Uruguay, bringing 12 young artists. As I knew firsthand the value of this vendor, I tried to spread it to inspire new generation. But if you can check, the website is not available. And this fact made me reflect, because it is very common for this kind of loss to happen on the web. In fact, the information that can be found is scarce and fragmented. in relation to the dimension of the proposal, moraleja of the story or lesson learned, the memory of a pioneering event was lost to inspire future generations. And I point out what Vinton Cerf said, this kind of loss. If we don't move now, we risk losing all the data we have created in the 21st century. Is not only the only case of the recent memory loss on the internet, and this is what is alarming. Of course, I'm not saying that it should be included in the list of digital heritage, but there should be some kind of global and local public policy to prevent this kind of loss, where there were multiple stakeholders from government, cultural institution, educational institution, etc., etc. Perhaps some kind of common space in cyberspace should be set up to host and conserve this type of undertaking, which is part of the recent world memory and also constitutes a legacy to be passed on. Okay, a strategy to think of future ways out of the slowing down of validation and concept of the world digital cultural heritage of humanity could be to generate new ideas. I believe that it should be the other way around, to take up and think openly about the pioneering ideas for creating the future. WBDCW8, especially because we are dealing with a digital nature that has a pre-existing legacy. So it is necessary to revisit the ideas that created the beginnings of this context. So I will take 3 ideas of pioneers and 1 recent idea that action are currently taking place. The first one is related to Vinton Cerf, the concept of digital vellum. And the second one is regarding Ted Nelson. The third is Shoichiro Kawaguchi. And the fourth is related to the cosmic rail. In the first one, digital vellum concept capturing the digital environment of the file we create are interpreted as music or images or text or video games or anything else can be reproduced in the distant future, mentioned Vinton Cerf. He especially details the contribution of the digital vellum concept for archives and how to work with them from a technical point of view and the human challenges for research and collaboration and cooperative networking. The concept that Nelson mentioned and is an important legacy to think regarding the world digital cultural heritage is a hypertext and transclusion concept. Even the Xanadu project that is currently working on. To sum up, he had the vision was for a digital repository scheme for worldwide electronic publishing. And it's very interesting to read the original 17 rules in Xanadu project that how manage the information publication, etc., etc. It's very, very interesting to rethink this concept and generate new ideas in the basis of the world digital cultural heritage. And the third, regarding the Shoichiro Kawaguchi legacy, is that 3D models with movement and the technique, the facilitated techniques is very important to develop a lot of IT codes and IT development for the 3D models and movement. And the combination of code and the combination of visualization it's a very, very interesting concept to focus on the World Digital Heritage. And the fourth is related the cosmic ray, neutron sensor technology, and satellite imagery for rethinking the World Digital Cultural Heritage in situations and experiences such as mountains, ground, and apply it to intangible cultural heritage. Instead of making diversions, it is necessary to converge in the following features. Converging in an intertwining way with these 4 points or items: data, code, cross-systems interoperability, and the importance of servers especially dedicated to the World Digital Cultural Heritage. We may have two active mechanisms in internet governance, along with UNESCO's protocols and procedures to find possible and sustainable ways forward. Finally, to conclude, we can ask ourselves again about what do we validate, what do we preserve, what do we lose, what do we achieve, and how. And taking the last conversion regarding data, code, cross-system interoperability, and servers especially dedicated to World Digital Cultural Heritage, and wrapping up the case studies from 1 to 4, we can sum up with the point of digital offset and artifact, digitally mediated human experience, the network as a vehicle of creation, the memory of global and local actions, with the importance of the interconnectedness of all the features that make up the what and how to preserve and validate as World Digital Cultural Heritage. As epilogue, for what purpose? For creating the future of the World Digital Cultural Heritage, in the importance of the citizens' interconnection through the network at local and global level, the highest tribute to immateriality of the bond between people as an important world heritage to be preserved, and that digital networks offer us as a vehicle of a global redeeming. It is likely that our academic or leadership role in e-culture needs a boost through the profile of activists. So I would like to paraphrase John Lewis when his family told him, don't get in trouble in relation to the struggle for Black people's rights in the US. And he could reply, get in good trouble, necessary trouble, and redeem the soul of America. Humbly, I paraphrase and contextualize in the need to activate certain fundamental needs today of the world's digital cultural heritage. Get in good travel, necessary travels, and redeem the soul of world heritage of humankind. Thanks for your attention.